Hello, and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed, and we are in a fantastic turning point in the text. It's super exciting. I hope you are as excited as I am because, oh my God, we have been nailing down a super important question that we have come to from our reading over close to 100, almost 100 eps. So nailing down a question. We've also been, this whole way through the text, we've been learning how to answer a question, the specific way of addressing questions. We've recognized recently, all the way through the text, but recently we've nailed down the fact that it's these two things that are our primary function as human beings: to give birth to and carry questions, and to develop hypotheses about them. Our Q sac in our inventory and our if sac. So our question puts us into a certain state of mind. And the way that we answer the question is our activity from that state of mind. And the ideal human activity that we have to learn, we have to train, in fact, it's our highest functioning in time that we can do. Therefore, the purpose or the meaning of life, the art we're here to master as human beings. Now we've come to that conclusion dozens of times in a dozen different ways. That what makes us evolved is the capacity for those two things. Our ability to reflect on ourselves in a state of openness and wonder. There's our question. That's ousia. And the capacity to use language along with that reflection. That's the logos. Logos and ousia are what we're able to participate in because that's where we are at our stage of evolution. That makes us different from cabbages, caterpillars, and cows. So the capacity for ousia, which we make use of by questions about ourself and reality. That's the self-reflection part of it. So two elements: our state of mind and our understanding, our ousia and our logos, our reflecting upon ourselves to know ourselves as the model, and the activity that comes from and is perfected by that model. It's just these two things, our Q's and our ifs. Making use of ousia and logos. What we've also been doing is not only seeing the significance of a question, or giving birth to and carrying a question, and developing the dialectic as our way of answering it, but we've been doing our own. In putting together or using the dialectic to weave the pieces of the puzzle together in our own self-reflection about what the model or map is of understanding that understanding uses, we have developed a map of reality. By carrying the question, what the heck is understanding? If that's the ticket, if all of the cautionary tales, like the story of Jesus and Mark, that we face in human mythology are cautions about not having understanding, or not applying, as in the story of Jesus and Mark, not applying your understanding to your highest insights, And if we can recognize it's only through perfecting our understanding that we can solve our problems, global problems, societal problems, problems of the human race, but most importantly, our own personal problems, how we relate to ourselves, our goals, and our loved ones. That's the stakes of understanding. So from those stakes, from that insight, we've been carrying a question. How do we do it? That's our question. What is reality? If reality is the model, if all of the Lego pieces of understanding exist as a oneness, as aspects of the brilliant light of being, what is that? How do we get it? Because not only is it a model of understanding, it's literally philosophy. Metaphysics is nothing other than the study of the aspects of the brilliant light of being or mind or reality. Theology is nothing other than mythology applied to that. That's what real theology is. So, as a result of that question and our activity of weaving the text together, using our reflection, using the terms from the text, we ended up with a model that left us with an even higher question. That's the significance of questions. You can give birth to even higher questions. Wow. So here is our model, the activity in reflecting upon the model, which was our question, ending up with this very map or model. But it left us with a question about what's in this section here. So, questions and hypotheses, that's what we do as human beings. And that makes use of our evolved capacities. But we've also realized, hang on a second, human problems, human ignorance, human stupidity, humans who make us say,
bitch,
and
vapid cunt.
And
hey, whoa. Who asked you? Okay, go ahead.
Those sorts of human beings
It's a total shit show.
who are a total shit show
Would you just blow in from Stupid Town?
and blow in from Stupid Town are stupid specifically because they are not doing those two things. Or, to be more accurately, they are carrying a false model of ousia and logos. That's why we've come to the conclusion, therefore, that punishment is irrational, anti-human. No war, please, anymore. Why? Because that's fucking stupid. Because problems are solved through understanding. And problems only exist because we are doing our ousia and logos, our self-reflection, our carrying a model, and language or activity. We're doing that having been tricked about what those two things are. That's ignorance. So ignorance is a false model of belief and an activity from that belief in opposition to the actual development of mind. That's why believers are ignorant. That's why human activity in problems are in opposition to our own benefit. Why do we still murder people if it's a win-win? Why do we still have wealth inequality, capitalism and fascism? Why do we still have war machines? Why do we still poison all the air and water when we could live in a utopia? Why are we so savagely fucking stupid against our own interests? Because we are blindly loyal to the model that we don't even know we're carrying and the teachers who taught us it. And therefore the activity from that false model is a false activity. That's our opposition against true understanding, knowing, and the perfection of our species and ourselves that comes from that ousia and logos. So, we recognize the significance of having a question. Therefore, if you don't have a question, you are stuck. That state of mind we call certainty, the opposite of carrying a question. Believers are certain. Ever tried to, last night, well, this is the tail end of my Saturday night right now, and I'm sleepy, but if I can do philosophy, I'll do philosophy. God damn it. When I'm playing in the street, sometimes or often there are the stupidest people you've ever seen with microphones and amplifiers yelling hateful nonsense about their stupid ass fucking religious beliefs, annoying everyone, abusing everyone, but they feel justified. The stupidest people feel justified acting harmfully to everyone else. That's human ignorance. That's the nature of human problems. That's a personification of human problems. That dude in the street. And you know what else happens? He never ever changes his mind. Every conversation isn't a real conversation. It's an excuse for him to take advantage of the good nature, the good faith of the other person talking to him and crush them. That's that Beatrice smile. I've heard someone call it that. There's a lady in a character in Harry Potter, Beatrice, and she would have a sinister smile when she knew she was doing something bad, but she enjoyed it. That's the sadistic smile of believers, when they pretend to be knowers, but they know they're doing something bad, but they like it anyway, because that's their highest model of excellence. Someone did it to them and they still believe it's real or good. That's addiction, a false model about what's real and good, and therefore they feel justified in imitating that ignorance. That's why there's no growth, that's why there's no development, and that's why no conversation will actually help that person. It's literally a waste of everyone's time. All it can do is harm people, because he will never, ever, ever change his mind, because that's what belief is. You don't change your belief. You don't develop in your belief. That's understanding. So, to not have a question, to not be open and curious. Now, a specific kind of question, not a question like how many beans are there in China, but a question about self and reality. The two levels of enlightenment, the two models that exist. Where's a good map? Here. Our false ousia, or a certainty, a lack of a question, imitating physical appearances so you can't change or grow. That's that false model we call belief. But the true model is mind having a question about the nature of mind, allowing us the capacity to turn around and know the mind directly. That's the model of eternity, everything all at once. Or to use this Venn diagram, if whole and part are two fundamental principles of reality, the whole that contains all the parts, this overlap, that's the level of mind. And its activity, so we call that knowing with a capital K, or nous in the Greek. And its activity from that model is understanding with a capital U, or dianoia in the Greek. So, to carry a question about mind itself, which we gave birth to because our question was, how do we perfect our understanding, if that's what we're here to do, if that's literally the meaning of life? We perfect it by turning around and understanding the model from which it's derived, because it's by knowing the model and reflecting on the model we gain the excellence of the activity. So, two things, questions and hypotheses. Therefore, if that's our purpose, if that makes use of our higher functioning, what makes us different from cabbages, cows, and caterpillars, then the lack of it is the nature of our ignorance or suffering, the cause of our suffering. Certainty ain't no questions in believers. They've never questioned their faith or their tradition or their Nazism or whatever. Certainty. And the activity, debate. To abuse language, to shut down conversation or win arguments or make tangents or distract people or speak gobbledygook, everything that rejects the development of actual step-by-step reasoned reflection, following a questioner, a guide that will lead to truth. The path of truth that leads to reality is open to everyone. All we have to do is remove our false beliefs, our false certainty about self and reality, and the activity that derives from it. Actually, there's two things we have to do to follow that path. Remove our false belief, our certainty about ourselves and reality. I know what I am. I know what the reality is. I know what life's about. Blah, blah, blah. I know I'm just a small bean. I know I'm a bad noodle. I know etc. Our problems, our self-fulfilling prophecies. Everything that says there's something better to do than dialectic, than reading this kick-ass book with this kick-ass streamer in this kick-ass community. Anything that says that is the activity from that false belief that says, I already know self and reality, so why waste my time figuring it out? A misuse of language. Therefore, our excellence or wisdom is the proper use of language. That's the dialectic. Formally, the skill that you can develop of using your understanding is the dialectic. Just like the skill of dribbling and shooting the basketball is formally, well, basketball. It's the same as the object. The skill of fixing a human body formally is surgery, that kind of thing. Dialectic is how we use our thinking. We've mentioned that there are some people naturally talented in it, but they can still perfect it. How? Well, we make use of our excellence by having a question and perfecting our dialectic in our understanding, but it has to be a question specifically, again, not about how many beans in China, but about the things that are knowable. And there are two primary categories that you can know. Your mind or reality, the nature of everything all at once, the nature of reality, and the self. That's the cause of reality, that it even experiences reality. Those are the two knowable experiences. And as they're non-physical, we call them spiritual. So the two spiritual experiences or enlightenment experiences are what we are supposed to be reflecting on. Because of course we are. You're a video game character. Don't you want to know you're the main character, what you are? Are you a Mario? Are you a Luigi? Are you a Yoshi? And then also, don't you want to know what abilities you have? If our highest ability is the mind, the capacity of knowing and understanding, don't you want to figure out what buttons to press? Of course. So we're naturally curious about the nature of reality, our mind, which is the mind. We participate in it. The more we participate in it, the more intelligent we become. And the more we perfect our activity, understanding, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
And the other thing is the self. That's well, you could say the lesser is the certainty of our false belief about self and reality that we don't even reflect on, so we don't even know we have. We don't ousia on it, and we haven't put words on it because we got it when we were wee children, stuck in a family, stuck in a house. Therefore, without ousia, reflection, and without logos, language, we don't even know we have it. So the most ignorant and brainwashed people say things like, it's just common sense. So if that's the lesser or the false, and wisdom is the greater, the truth about reality that we can know in experience and understand the activity from that experience, we can say there's one more level. Not the false, not the true, but not the truther, but true itself. Or not the lesser, not the greater, the ultimate. Not the copy, not the model, but the principle for model and copy to unfold. The first cause. But because it's our ultimate goal, we call it the first and final cause. So, to understand what we've come to is fantastic. We've come to an understanding that there are two things we can make use of. Ousia and logos. And we make use of it through questions and dialectical hypotheses as a way of answering. So cues, questions, and ifs. We also come to realize that those two things, in its crappy sense, is the nature of the cause of human problems. A false certainty, instead of a question about self and reality, a certainty and an activity in opposition to the development of questions and understanding. So you might find when you get a question and you're like, hey, I've got this question about this, you might find human beings are compelled to take your good faith nature, your goodness that seeks wonder, that seeks truth, that seeks understanding, and somehow win points in their mind by shitting on you. Oh yeah, look at this guy with a question. Right, guys? Look how big and strong and cool I am. I'm not wondering.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
I don't have joy and whimsy and childlike wonder. I'm cool because I have the answers, and I'm going to make fun of every nerd who has a question. That kind of horseshit, with the Beatrice smile, or the Joker from the Batman smile. They know they're doing something bad. That's the sadism, that's the addiction. That's the human culture of ignorance we're stepping out of by reclaiming our own fucking consciousness. Because that's ignorance. We live in a world ruled by people oppressing others through belief. Trump ain't Christian, but he knows that's who he can manipulate. Netanyahu doesn't give two shits about the Jews, but he knows that that's who he can manipulate to do his sadism, his genocide, his torture. It's always the same. Sadism, believers mistaking certainty for actual knowingness, and inflicting harm, the same kind of harm that was their belief-based model from their own upbringing. So, two things we can do: questions and ifs. And our problems, the opposite of questions, certainty, and an opposite of understanding, debate, or distractions, or shooting people down. All of those things that are in opposition to that wonder of curiosity and the fun of dialectical understanding. So, and that's something we've come to see because that's how we've been learning to read as well. It's also how you read. We're not bringing in a certainty. We've had some chatters in there. Well, I know that Parmenides is bad, and I know this and I know that because my teacher. No, that's not the game. Get curious. We read these books so we have something to collectively get curious about. And your answers aren't your own regurgitation of your opinions like the way we're taught to think in school, regurgitate the opinions of the authority figures. It's our own skillful use of understanding to weave the pieces of the puzzle together. So this very activity, true learning how to make use of our capacity to reflect, ousia, through questions, and making use of the other aspect, the capacity to reason through language, logos, through hypotheses. That's the two things. That's how we read. But we've also seen that's also formally meditation. Because our questions are about the nature of mind or reality, or the nature of self, and both of those things are eternal. One that is eternity of everything all at once. That's being, the model of the physical world. And the other thing is eternal because it's out of time. It's the part of the Venn diagram that's out of time, that is untouched by time. So you can think of this top circle as whole and this bottom one parts, but another one you could use as out of time and in time. So therefore the model, or this having a question about the nature of mind itself, is formally a meditation because it can be directly experienced as the whole, because it's a part of this top circle, which is the whole. Or it can be known because it's out of time, because the top circle is also out of time. It's each of these pairs: whole, part, same, different, out of time, in time. Pairs of the logos, which are aspects of mind. The difference is mind is out of time, but also incorporating all of time. That's why what we've been doing is also a meditation. When we make use of our questions about mind and our use of understanding to solve those questions through the dialectic using the text, that's formally meditation. The opposition to that is the cause of our problems. Why? Because if that's our purpose, if that's what we're here for, always definitionally, then a problem or a block has to block your purpose and your excellence. So, there are many ways we've understood that. Hey, if the only way of solving problems is understanding, you can't believe your way into curing cancer, but if you understand cancer, you can. You can't believe your way into fixing your computer if you don't understand your computer. So if understanding is needed to solve problems, and we all have problems, therefore our purpose needs to be develop understanding. If understanding is what we need to experience the truth of reality, another reason why understanding's our purpose. If understanding is the highest cognitive functioning that we can do as a human being, separating us from cabbages, caterpillars, and cows, another reason. If there's a meaning to life, it has to be something that we take with us after we die. And you can't take your physical things, but you can take your learning and nurture. Another reason why understanding is the meaning of life. So, we've also given birth to an even higher question. If the first model or spiritual experience is mind itself, which perfects our understanding, we can use that developed understanding and that love of questions, that love of wonder and whimsy, to wonder about even its cause, which is also a knowable experience in a different kind of way. And that's the difference between belief. That's the difference between echo chambers that just repeat your same old garbage belief, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's a Nazi chat room just agreeing, whether it's some alpha bro podcast community like, women suck, right guys? Yeah, women suck. Yeah, women suck. We're right. Aren't we right? We're so smart. Yes, we hate women. We hate women. Or it's the worst case of that, your family. Literally. From age 0 to age however until you leave the house. An echo chamber for the false beliefs that identifies you within that clan of ignorance. Human problems, the cause of human problems. So, fundamentally, our human problems is a sense of certainty and not questions about those two things. A false belief that we're certain about, so certain we identify with these beliefs about the nature of self and reality. That's it. And our purpose is to actually experience self and reality. So, very simple, you can say the nature of human problems and our purpose in one sentence. The false belief of self and reality as our cause of our problems, while our purpose is to reach self and reality. And we do that by making use of those two cognitive functions, ousia and logos, self-reflection, language, reasoning, or questions and ifs. Which is 8. And what the dialectic is, a series of questions that you answer step by step, rationally through reason. So formally, the dialectic is the activity that makes use of those two capacities we have. And because we are reflecting on, we're applying our dialectic to reality, we end up with two things. So we end up with two things. We're making use of two things, ousia and logos, and we end up with two things. We end up with the experience of reality and an understanding of reality. We end up with the experience of ousia and the perfection of our logos. That's why it's a meditation. And that's what makes it different from belief-based cognition. All believers do is imitate a static image that they don't even know that they have. They just think it's obvious. It's obvious, bro. That's what the world is. The world is a battleground where men have to defeat women, or the white people have to blah, 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 or the Jews have to kill all the Palestinians, and then Jesus comes back. They think that's just obvious because that's how they were raised. Look into any cult, any religion, any culture. You'll find this. It's not difficult to recognize. So, a false belief about self and reality. And what's the activity? If our activity is supposed to make use of questions and language or dialectic to know self and reality, but you already think you've got it, what's your activity? What's your life about? What do you do with your existence? Two things. Experience the drama, the implications of what's inherent in that false belief about self and reality, repeating your injustice to yourself, to your loved ones, to your children, and if you have power over anyone else, you inflict it on other people. So you might even seek opportunities, professions, power, so you can play out your injustice or be a bully to others with impunity. That's your life. That causes your negative experiences, problems, and your negative reincarnations where you have to suffer the implications of that kind of injustice to create balance or fairness within the universe. But it's not fair unless you can have the possibility of escaping that problem, learning. So, if you already know self and reality, and the real activity is to know self and reality, and you already think you do, what do? You play out as a zombie trapped in a repeating cycle of problems, an NPC zombie. A self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, I guess I am a small being like I always knew. I guess blacks are always like this, just like I always knew. I guess women always do this, just like I already knew, etc., etc., etc. Self-fulfilling prophecy. But also, the second thing that you do, not only suffer the limitations, your other kind of activity is to oppose your real activity. So when you are given a false belief, like let's say faith, let's say religion. Hey, believe that Jesus was magic, and he died and he magicked to life, and his mother was a virgin. Really? I should believe that? Oh yeah. Why? Well, if you don't believe it, you go to hell. Oh shit, really? Oh yeah, and let me tell you how bad that is. Shit, okay. What's the reasoning for believing? What's the evidence? Oh, there are none. So you're telling me the most important thing I have to think, there is no evidence for. And there can be no evidence for. Yep. Actually, hang on a second. Sometimes there's all of the evidence points to the fact that it's likely not the case. No one's magicked it their way out of death, and no one gives birth if they're a virgin. Not only is it stupid, it's against understanding itself. So that's the 2 pills you swallow with a belief. You get this. This is from the text, by the way, just reviewing. You have to swallow the false belief that makes you a loyal Mormon, a loyal Jew, a loyal Nazi, whatever, a loyal family member. But you always comes with 2 pills. You have to swallow the second pill. That is, that understanding is fucked. Your use of your own mind is fucked. And yourself is fucked. Because understanding is your self-use, your self-activity. And you use it to know your self-mind. It's the activity of your own mind. And if you understood, you wouldn't have to believe. If you knew, with mind knowing itself as knowledge, you wouldn't have to believe. And by the way, no one has to convince you that you're a self. Self is something that can never be an object of belief. And you can't be a follower if you're thinking for yourself. So, the 2 things that you do when you're blocked from doing your real activity, to make use of questions and language, ousia and logos, through the dialectic, to have a question about the nature of mind and perfect your understanding, and by using the text to answer that in a structured way. And also to have questions about the other thing that is knowable, the self. So to wonder about the true nature of your mind and reality, and also wonder about yourself. And the more you wonder about it, the closer you get to it. But also the closer you get to the model, the more you perfect its activity. So it's a win-win. So that's the kind of meditation you're actually here to do, resulting in 2 things. So just as we're making use of 2 things, ousia and logos, or questions and ifs, we're making use of that in the dialectic art. We also walk away with 2 things. We walk away with the experience and the understanding. Knowing and understanding. Wisdom. The 2 together. 2 things. So therefore, if that's what we're supposed to be doing, belief also does 2 things. It plays out the terrible, tragic, disastrous implications of having a false belief about self and reality. Because you're not doing ousia, you need to reflect on your problems to solve them. And by the way, you ain't going to solve your problem unless you're also making use of not only ousia, but logos to reason about them, to find the patterns, to solve the puzzle, to find the cause, to find the preconditions, to find the principles. So you're absolutely blocked from solving any goddamn problem. So we say to you,
dude, suck my dick.
And
you'll get a bunch of views.
You get a bunch of views.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie
if you're
pie.
Cute. I don't know. I couldn't work in the soundboard. Forget about the soundboard.
Whore.
Jesus. So, playing out the tragic implications of your problems, which, if you wake up to your purpose, are always clues so you can become curious or develop a question. So that's the 3rd thing you can have a question about. What is my false model, because it's causing my problems, and I'm curious about that because I don't want to be in problems. So it's the 3rd thing you can have a question about. These 2 are knowable and understandable, so experience and understanding. This one is a purification because it ain't real. So 2 levels of purification and one level of purification, purifying what's false, and 2 possible levels of perfection, resulting in experience and understanding. So if you're not doing that, you are stuck in your problems, in a repeating cycle of suffering. But also your activity, the 2nd pill you swallow, you will fight tooth and nail against the development of the dialectic. You will fight tooth and nail against giving birth to your own questions about the truth of reality. Because I already know what it is. It's Jesus. I already know what reality is. It's a battleground between devils and saints. I don't know what reality is. It's a dog-eat-dog world where you got to be a billionaire and manipulate people. I know what the real world is. It's nothing. It's nihilism. We're just all rocks in space, and every happiness is just chemical squirting. See, lots and lots of different conflicting opinions and beliefs, but what makes them the same is it's all certain, indicating belief, but also in opposition to truth and in opposition to the development of your own dialectic, understanding and questions. So that's what we do, which is the difficulty of being a philosopher. It's a very lonely path at this stage of human evolution. If we are to save our race, we have to share the joy and love of understanding, philodianoia, love of understanding, because it's literally the only thing that can solve our problems, and human beings' problems are now playing out with extinction level consequences. We have nuclear bombs. The people in charge are the most sadistic, doing terrible genocides with nuclear weapons. The amount that capitalists can earn profit through poisoning water and air can poison everyone's air. Climate change kills everyone. So hopefully we will wake up to the fun and joy and wonder of perfecting the dialectic, our use of understanding, making use of what makes us evolved, but also what makes us good people. The more that you reflect on the model of goodness, the more good you become. The more you reflect on the model of intelligence, the more intelligent you become. And then that next level of question, the more you reflect on its cause, the self, which is beyond qualities, but the cause of qualities, the more authentically yourself you become. And because the self is also not goodness, but the good, the more ultimately good you become. And it's the true, the more authentic you become. And because it's a pure one, the more instantaneous you become. Instantaneously, ultimately good, and authentically the self. That's our goal, it's our purpose. Therefore, the question that we have given birth to in this text is, how do we reach the ultimate? We also have a question, if there's a model and activity here, an experience and understanding of reality, if there's the fake model and activity here, the certainty, no questions, false belief about self and reality, and the activity to play out the implications of that and to fight tooth and nail against your own development, is there a model and activity of self? Is there an experience of self, and is there an activity of that experience? Or is it just one thing? So that's our first question, and Socrates gave us a clue. Because he says, hey, you know what? This true meditation, this curiosity and dialectics, wonder and understanding, this dialectic, is also, let's read it in the text, is different from believers' fantasies. By the way, this also directly connects to sexuality, because sexuality just adds power. You get immediacy, you get power, you get energy stimulated in the activity you're doing, which can serve one of two things: adding energy to your false belief about self and reality in your fantasies, in your distractions, or adding power and energy to the true quest to know self and reality. That's it. So Socrates concludes where we are in the text by saying, therefore, our purpose, the true use of sexuality and loving relationships, is together with your beloved, develop an understanding of something that has to incorporate truth that we seek, the good that we desire, and the idea of what's ultimately real, Has to hit all three of those points of that triad or that triangle. Make sure you're not adding energy into what you've been persuaded and encouraged to believe, the false idea of self and reality, which dooms you. Pay attention to how it feels with a standard of seeking your highest goal that's consistent with your philosophical goals, self and reality, and a higher sense of what's right and just. If you don't feel like you're doing that, that's an indication that you are mistaken about what you're meditating on. Therefore, the fundamental difference in each moment, and amplified, also applying to sexuality, is the difference between fantasy and philosophical speculation is in fantasy there is a false image of the self, and its drama has no correspondence to actually being able to reach your goal. So, your images of self and reality that manifest as fantasies as well is a false image of self and reality that you've been persuaded and nurtured and groomed in, just like ChatGPT giving you back your own bollocks beliefs because of capitalism, or your Republican Nazi Discord server just having more Nazis feeding you nuts, or just Twitter now, Twitch, X it is, X, not Twitch, X, Twitter, run by proud Nazi Elon Musk and his AI chatbot called Mecha Hitler, and it becomes a echo chamber, a cesspool for repeating false beliefs of self and reality, the cause of our injustice. So that's the model, the false belief of self and reality, and its activity we call the drama. So we said there are two aspects. There are the playing out of the tragedies, but also in opposition to your benefit, that's the drama. Human drama is suffering the consequences of being blocked and being opposed to your actual benefit. That's the drama. That also applies to sexuality. If you're not present, authentic, seeking your highest goals, being as true or authentic, being as good and as real as you can, seeking the truth of reality together, paying attention to if you feel like you're doing so in a just way. If you're not doing that and instead you're distracted by some fantasy that you're not putting words on and reflecting on, you are engaged in fantasy based on a false image of the self, and the drama that will result has no correspondence to the actual activity we're here to do, which is the way to truth, which is the meditation of the philosopher. Therefore, engage in philosophical speculations. What's that? Wonder, question. Don't you want to be curious with your beloved? Don't you want to have questions? And don't you want to actually answer it in the highest possible way, where you can actually fucking solve problems and actually answer the most profound, deep puzzles you have, but answer it in a way that we call speculations of philosophy or meditation or dialectic, because what makes it different from fantasy, which is fake and just keeps you stuck in your nonsense, is this kind of conversation, speculation, wonder, focus, curiosity, amplified by sexual intimacy, leads to actually an understanding, leads to actually an experience. You get there. You don't just get there, you understand it too. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
The more holes, the better.
The more holes, the better.
All checks out.
All checks out. So that's where we left off. we want to be seeking to go through that first model of mind or reality to know the ultimate nature of reality, its cause, the self, the true, the one, the real, the good self. That's what we're wondering about. That's what we're having a question about. So that's what we're making use of our questions and understanding about, our ousia and logos. That's the dialectic. Wondering, speculating, and also understanding, both together. Aphrodite and Apollo. Whole and part, both together. And that's meditation. So, focused, wondering, understanding, questions and language. The dialectic, so use intimacy to amplify your wonder and dialectic on the self, while understanding that it's the ultimate true, one, and good, which will lead you to the experience of it. No belief, you get there, you go to the party, you confirm your understanding and speculations. Isn't that neat? So anyone who says, oh, you can't know God, well, you haven't read this book. You should read it. It's a goddamn banger. So that's our question. If that's the ultimate focus, if that's the object of our speculations, well, we have been speculating. And we want to know, how do we get there? Well, it's wonderful to wonder about the self and to understand that it has to be a kind of whole without parts, or a kind of one without many. A kind of good that's even more good than goodness because it's beyond qualities. But not empty of qualities. Somehow all of the greatest qualities of that experience of divine luminosity, the greatest possible experience, all the greatest qualities, is inherent in the self. So how the heck do we know something that isn't an experience? How the heck do we know something that's pure but also inherently contains everything? In other words, how do we get to the party? That's our question. That's the question we've given birth to. So not only have we given birth to this pretty ultimate question, we've also been developing an understanding of the significance of questions. So not only do we have these questions, we know how goddamn important it is. So we're not going to lose it. We're not going to let it go. It's literally making use of that evolved capacity of states of mind, or questions, or wondering. And we've also seen if we don't hold on to that question, we will become stuck in our goddamn slavery to our ignorance and suffering. So there's your choice. Do you hold on to this question about the truth of self, or do you become an unjust, Nazi-like, zombie-like slave to your ignorant, false beliefs that you don't even have? In other words, are you going to be curious, or are you going to be certain? That's the importance of having reached this question the way that we've done it over time, through reflection, through understanding, and through 95 episodes so far. We have given birth to the question, so we have the question as our experience, but we also have understanding. We understand the significance and the importance and the stakes of having a question, and the tragedy that follows that if we don't. So, the way to truth is the meditation of the philosopher is to have speculations of philosophy that's different from fantasy, and leads to both an understanding and experience of the true self.
You're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
I didn't mean to press that. The true self. So it is understandable. It is. So there's an answer to that earlier question. Is it 2 or 1? Yep. There is an experience, according to the text. Again, we'll have to confirm it by getting there. There is an experience of the true self, and there is an understanding of the true self. And this kind of speculation, wondering, focus, questions, understanding, dialectic leads to it. So you better hold that question, and you better have fun perfecting your dialectics. Cues and ifs, the two sacks in your inventory of the hero on the hero's journey. Understanding and experience of the true self, you, and also God, because it's the cause. Even this creator God, it's its cause, because even the creator God must have something that you would say it's the creator itself. Itself is still used as an adjective, which means it has to be a noun even prior to self. So it's the first cause of everything, and it's the final cause. It's the most transcendent, but it's also the most immediate. It's the most personal. It's the most intimate, while also being the highest and most transcendent. That's the wonder of the whole thing. Now, this is important. It's the final cause, it's our ultimate, but it's also the first cause. So our question we now have is, how the heck do we get that experience and understanding of the true self? Like specifically. Like what do we have to specifically do? Because we really want it. And we're kind of sick of being stuck in the ignorance that follows of not having it. So how do we get there? Well, the understanding that it's the first and final cause helps us, because it's our final cause and we want to know how to get there. We might get a clue on how to get there by understanding how it unfolded reality and the physical world by being the first cause. Not just the final cause, but the first cause. And that's where we're at that's where we are so far in our reading. We got this bitch and ass question, as well as a profound appreciation and understanding for questions and holding on to them without ever dropping them. We have developed an understanding of the dialectical understanding, as well as having a profound appreciation for this use of language, the dialectic or understanding, while also seeing the tragic implications of not using language well. Debates, ignorance, distractions, tangents, fantasies, that kind of crap. So we got the most bitch and ass question and the most bitch and ass skill in our back pocket of how to answer that question, and an appreciation of both. How do we get to the self? Specifically. And now, as a clue to answer that question, Jesus asked, well, first, okay, maybe we'll get a clue to this by talking about how this one pure inherent of everything self unfolded all of these qualities all at once, which then unfolded all of the different qualities and cows and leopards and dramas and species and galaxies that happen in the physical world. How does the pure one self unfold creation? So now we have our kick-ass question, while recognizing the importance of this question in the book, the question of the unfolding, because the unfolding will give us a clue to our question. So the question in the book, how does oneself unfold reality? Our question, how do we get back there? Remember there's two pieces? Jesus asked the question, and then Socrates seems to be beginning a dialectical way of answering that question. So here is Socrates saying, so how does reality unfold? And Socrates says, so daydreams, problems, and your kind of speculation, meditation, dialectical wonder both have a triadic structure. It's based on what we think is good and true and real. Only one's false and one's the actual. I have wondered if you're going to talk about the triad for all creation and the procession from the one which remains, and that all creation is said to be a part of. How does the one unfold everything in creation that wants to return? And then Socrates began to answer that question. Would you agree with this? And then Jesus says, yes, that's right. And then he says, okay, now that we're in agreement with that first step, next step. So we see, because we've appreciated the two things we're here to do, questions and, well, because we appreciate the really one thing we're here to do, the dialectic, we can recognize the start of the dialectic. We have a super awesome question in our back pocket. We have a super awesome appreciation for this question Jesus just asked, and we can recognize the beginning of the dialectic to answer it. So this journey that Socrates, we haven't seen it yet, but it sounds like, it smells like it's the start of a bitch and ass dialectic. That's going to be key for us to answer our question, how the heck do we know the self? So we can get there and reach our ultimate goal, our purpose. That's where we are in the text. Now, I think it's worth taking a moment today to just review everything we've done so far, so we see that it's the question and the way of answering, and both come together in dialectic, because we're seeing perhaps one of the greatest dialectics about to unfold in front of us that is so personally significant to us because we have been playing the game as well ourselves. In other words, we had to learn everything about basketball because now Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant have just taken to the court. But not only that, because we have been learning along the way, we are LeBron Jameses. In other words, we're not just able to appreciate one of the greatest activities about to unfold in front of us, we can perfect our own excellence ourselves by really watching and participating in this dialectic too. It's a
win-win.
It's a win-win. So, another cliffhanger of an episode, but it's really worth bringing it all together so we're all together on the same page, ready to dive into what might be completely game-changing. If it helps us gain an insight to how specifically we know the self, considering that's our question. And it's so important a question that we're never going to let it go. Especially when making love or drinking beers. I hope you're equally excited to jump in, and we'll do that next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, like, subscribe YouTube, follow on Twitch, join the Discord, link below, donate to the channel if you can, and that is a great help. And I'll see you with this question and this love of understanding in your back pocket. And we're going to participate in this bitchin' ass dialectic. Something so great, even the earthly bounds couldn't contain it. It had to be a dialogue in heaven. I'll see you in the next one. This button always gives me grief. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.